afternoon, or I would say good evening. A little bit of history from Roncesvalles. I will try to summarize what I can, but gosh, everything is closed. There's nothing that I can really visit, even though it's really beautiful place actually. But there's a lot of history in Roncesvalles, right? Where does it start? I would say the starting point of our story today is this date, 15th of August of the year 778. In the year 778, the famous Battle of Roncesvalles took place. In this battle, which actually, supposedly, let's say, because there's not much historical proof in the saying that you can find bodies of soldiers or swords, but it took place a little bit further, right, on the Alto of Ibañeta, 1.5 kilometers higher than here. During this battle, Carlomagno, or Charlemagne, who entered Spain in order to conquer a little bit more of Spain from the Arabs, was actually, after striking a deal with some of the Arabs in Zaragoza, was coming back. First, he went to Pamplona, where supposedly he destroyed the walls of Pamplona to make sure that the Basque people who were living there were not going to attack him. Now, also this can be disputed because there's no proof that he destroyed the walls. Anyways, he goes back, and then from Pamplona, he just walks back following the very same Camino, which back then was already a Roman road, or the remainings of a Roman road. And a little bit higher up than here, he gets ambushed by the Basque people, the Basque soldiers, but they don't ambush the whole army, right? They wait for most of the army to pass, and then they are going to just ambush the last remaining troops, right? The rear troops, which were guided by the famous Roland, or Rolando, right? Roland, who was one of the most formidable knights that Charlemagne had in his army, doesn't want to give up, and most of all, he doesn't want to ask for help because he knows he would get his own emperor into a trap. So they fight until the very last man, and they surrender, and they die. They're slaughtered by the Basque. Now this is where the myth and the legend starts taking, different routes from what is the history, because in the myth they are not Basque. Inside the Chanson de Roland, which is one of the most famous poems, written in the Middle Age, the enemies are the Arabs. Roland decides to destroy his own sword, Durendal, because it was a holy sword, right? And by doing this, they said he hit a rock with such strength, that's what the legend says, that he opened like apart, the land by creating the famous, what is called like the Brèche de Roland, which is basically a real literal hole in the mountain. Now, whether this is a legend or not, of course, well, it is a legend, right? But there is actually a geological formation called this way on the Pyrenees on this side of the mountains. He also finally asks for help, and he's going to use his own horn. He tried to use his horn called the Oliphant to ask for help, but he literally likes trying to use it so hard to ask for help that the horn breaks. And they still say that from time to time on the mountains, especially in the snowy and windy and cold days and nights, you can still hear the sound of the horn and the presence of Roland and his knights who are protecting the pilgrims who are making their way. Whether or not they're protecting the pilgrims, we don't know, but definitely that's what Roncesvalles was born. Roncesvalles was born because initially there was an albergue for pilgrims a little bit higher up, exactly the place where the battle took place, at the top of the mountain. However, it was too exposed, so they decided to build it a little bit down, okay, just a few meters down here in Roncesvalles, which was a little bit more shielded, and they built what today is an amazing temple, comprising like a huge monastery, like a church, a cloister, great examples of Gothic architecture here in Spain. To protect the pilgrims, up to a point, they say there's There's an author that talks about this and says that there were over 23,000 meals being served per day. I don't know whether that could be true or not, but imagine in the Middle Age, the number of pilgrims. And Roncesvalles became famous, entered the legend, because of being always open to anyone of every faith. You know, not only just Christian, but Jewish or like whatever, atheist. The fact that it still holds true. This place is open for everyone and is always open. You know, in the middle of a storm, in the cold, you know, Roncesvalles is open. It's a stronghold of the Camino and is legendary starting point of the Camino for many, many people. Even when actually the church lost a lot of its power in Spain, Roncesvalles was still receiving pilgrims, and it still does nowadays. In a few minutes there will be the mass for the pilgrims with the blessing of the pilgrims, and I will attend that, and I think you will feel like really traveling back in time, back in those times of like pilgrims walking through this route, back in those times where Charlemagne was trying to, you know, conquer this area of Spain and to make a safe way for pilgrims. So in this cold day of winter, I really feel like I'm traveling back in time, and being in Roncesvalles is like being in a time machine. So for all those who will do the Camino, spend some time here in Roncesvalles, try to get to know its history, and try to feel, you know, the magic of this place. Many pilgrims have been buried alongside these walls, you know. They didn't survive in the Middle Age, the storms, the snow, the hard weather, you know, or they were eaten by wolves. This place was so important. There's some spiritual energy. There's a legend of like monks walking in the corridors at night and guiding the lost pilgrims. You know, there's like lots of histories, lots of stories. One of the most important places in Navarra and one of the most relevant and historical places here in the whole Spain. So yeah, this was a little bit from Roncesvalles. Tomorrow, more Camino. Let's see where it will take me.